Okay, Hare Krishna everyone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay, so welcome to our Bhakti Sastri. We're studying
Recording in progress.
We're studying Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7 to chapter 12. So I'll be taking your class here for the next 2 weeks. We're having class 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, this time. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakaupatarubhyascha Kripasindubhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Alright, so here's the title, Pure Devotional Service, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7 to 12. Is everyone seeing the slideshow okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, good. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita is in 3 portions. You've already studied the first 6 chapters, I assume. So the first 6 chapters was emphasizing more karma yoga. Although other yogas were also introduced, you had some jnana yoga, you had dhyana yoga, and there's a tinge of bhakti there also, but the main feature is on karma yoga. So that was the first 6 chapters, and then this middle portion is more on bhakti yoga. Other things are also there, but the emphasis is more towards bhakti. And then in the final section, it will be Jnana Yoga. Like that, 3 portions. So bhakti is in the middle. Bhakti is in the middle. Now some people think the most important yoga should come at the end. Some people think, like they have a saying, there should be a sweet at the end. And so, no, Bhagavad Gita is not like that. Bhagavad Gita is more like a sandwich. And with a sandwich, you have bread on the outside and the good thing in the middle. At least I hope you have a nice sandwich. We want to put maybe the cheese or something there in the middle. And so Bhakti Yoga is like that. Bhakti Yoga is in the center and it's protected. The 2 coverings of Bhakti Yoga. In the beginning by Karma Yoga and at the end by Jnana Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is the main focus of the Bhagavad Gita, and it's kept in the central position there, although it also comes there in other places. Alright, so we'll go ahead. Chapter summary of the chapter. This 7th chapter describes the power of the Lord, most worthy of worship, and the 4 types of worshipper and non-worshippers. So we'll hear about these things. Why Krishna is most worthy of worship, and the 4 types of worshippers, 4 kinds of people, pious people who come to Krishna, and those people who don't come to Krishna. It will all be described in the 7th chapter. Conclusion of the first 6 chapters. Some people only read the first 6 chapters. Just the other day I was talking with one lady and she was telling me, she said she'd only read the first 6 chapters and she'd never studied the central portion of the Bhagavad Gita. She'd only knew the first 6 chapters, and some people even think the Bhagavad Gita is only 6 chapters. There was one famous acharya And he left the world now, but he was a famous famous guru, a Maharishi, and he wrote a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, but only the first 6 chapters. He didn't write any more than the first 6 chapters. So many people thought Bhagavad Gita is only 6 chapters. But first 6 chapters only the first part of the Bhagavad Gita. You have to go on and hear the rest of the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita, the first 6 chapters was the beginning of hearing the Yoga Ladder. Described, we've taken this reference here from Prabhupada's purport, from chapter 7, text number 1. Maybe someone would like to read this for me?
In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as a non-material spirit soul capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yogas. At the end of the 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of all yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise.
Thank you.
Bhagavad Gita Sloka.
Thank you, Prabhu, yes. So, the first 6 chapters was describing, of course, you know, in the 2nd chapter, you heard the difference between the body and the soul. And Lord Krishna was defeating all of Arjuna's arguments for not wanting to fight. And then Lord Krishna brought the discussion to a higher level, speaking about karma yoga and how you didn't have to worry about reactions, and then brought in Gyan, and then even taught meditation in the 6th chapter. And then at the end of the 6th chapter, Lord Krishna concluded his description of the yoga ladder by describing that bhakti yoga was at the top of the yoga ladder, that it was the supreme method of yoga. And all the other yogas, the other processes are all included within bhakti yoga. And so it's bhakti yoga, which yoginam api sarvesham margaten antaratmanam, right? It's the highest yoga, the topmost yoga. But we have to concentrate the mind upon Krishna. It's not so easy thing to actually come to that level of bhakti yoga. We talk about it, but to actually do it properly, in other words, concentrating our mind upon Krishna, is often the challenge. So Lord Krishna described these things in the first 6 chapters. Now in the 7th chapter, he's going to go on, and he begins the 7th chapter by, again, stressing the importance of fixing the mind, controlling the mind. Because without controlling the mind, then we can never actually be thinking of Krishna and remembering Krishna. All right, so here's the outline of the 7th chapter. Chapter begins with the first 3 verses, knowing Krishna in full by hearing about him. We will hear about the importance of this hearing process. Certainly, Lord Chaitanya always gave great importance to the hearing process. And we see here also in the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna is stressing hearing. Actually, it's significant because hearing is the first step of bhakti yoga, right? Without hearing, we're not able to chant. Srinvatam swakata Krishna. So hearing, Srinvatam swakata Krishna punya svaravana kirtana. That's another verse. I'm thinking of something else. Shravanam kirtan Vishnu, smaranam pada sevanam, archanam vandam dashyam sakyan atmanivedanam. So Shravanam kirtan Vishnu. The first thing is hearing. We have to hear, and then we can chant, and then we can remember. So Bhakti Yoga is progressive, and the first step of Bhakti Yoga is hearing. So the 7th chapter also begins with Lord Krishna speaking about the importance of hearing. And then verses 4 up to number 12, Krishna will describe himself as the origin and essence of everything, both spiritual and material. And that is followed by, of text 13 and 14, Lord Krishna controls the modes, therefore surrender. Then 15 to 19, we'll hear the 4 kinds of impious and pious persons, and who are the best of these. And then 20 to 25, misplaced surrender, demigod worshippers and impersonalists are described. And then the final section, the bewilderment of the living entity and his freedom through knowledge of Krishna. Bewildered, right? So that's the different sections of the Bhagavad Gita. You can see here we've broken the chapter into these different subheadings, and we'll look at these points as we go through this 7th chapter. 7th chapter we'll look at today and tomorrow also. It's an important chapter, so we'll spend a couple of days. We have only 6 chapters, but we have 10 classes, so we can spend a couple of days on the 7th chapter. All right. Someone like to read? Connection with previous chapter?
In the last verse of chapter,
Krishna explained that he who always abides in me, concentrates the mind upon me, and renders loving devotional service to me is the greatest of all yogis. Mad gaten antaratmanah yah mam bhajate sa me yukt atmo matah. In order to explain his own swarup, the object of worship by the jiva and the means to realize him, he speaks chapter 7. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you, Maraji. Oh yeah. So, Lord Krishna in the previous chapter, he'd spoken about devotional service and concentrating the mind. It's the highest. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmanam. Same yuta tamo mata, the highest yogi, the best yogi. And so, Lord Krishna wants to explain this. How to worship. The object of worship by the jiva, the means to realize him. We're going to hear the means to how to realize Krishna and why Krishna is the object of worship. So here's the first verse of the 7th chapter. Right? Someone like to chant for us? Who's good in chanting? Who likes to chant?
Maharaj, shall I try?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Sakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunjam Vadashraya Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Gyasasi Tachino.
Yes, translation.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with your mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt."
All right. So Lord Krishna is speaking, Maya asaktamana, with your mind attached to me. We want to attach our minds to Krishna. It's very important. All right? Devotional service. We want to be constantly thinking of Krishna. Always remember Krishna, never forget him. So it's important for us to attach our minds to Krishna. And this way we will be able to be free from doubt. But we have to, in order to attach our minds to fully to Krishna, we have to hear. So Krishna begins, you can see the Lord said, now hear, O Arjuna. So that's yata jasnasi tachrinu, important. Prabhupada said this is the importance of hearing. Hear, Arjuna. Hearing is important because without hearing, there will be the tendency just simply to speculate, and we enjoy the mind. Instead of hearing what is the truth and what is the reality of things, we speculate on it with our mind. And we're thinking, well, I think like this, in my opinion, I'm thinking I understand it in this way. That's useless. That is not Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not speculation. Krishna consciousness is hearing. We have to hear from Krishna and from Krishna's representative. We could say Arjuna was very fortunate because Lord Krishna was there, directly speaking to him. We hear from Krishna's representative. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he's a representative of Lord Krishna. So we should hear from Prabhupada. We shouldn't have any doubts. Just hear carefully. Right? Someone read?
Knowing Krishna in full by hearing about him. Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahm Jyoti and Paramatma in full. Is of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature and their manifestations with paraphernalia.
Yeah, is there a bit more? Wait. Yeah, go ahead.
One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and the most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, Tachunu, or hear from me. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly or from a pure devotee of Krishna and not from a non-devotee upstart, puffed up with a academic qualification, academic education. Bhagavad Gita 7.1.
Okay, thank you, Madhiji. Let's have a look at this. What Prabhupada is saying here. It's different types of yoga are just stepping stones for Krishna consciousness. But we're taking directly to Krishna consciousness. The other yogas, Hatha yoga, Jnana yoga, Karma yoga, they're going to lead us to Krishna consciousness. They will lead us to Bhakti yoga. But why go through that? Go directly to Bhakti yoga. And Prabhupada said, you come to Krishna consciousness, we'll know everything about the other things like the Brahman and Paramatma. It's all there within Bhakti yoga. And just like by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we get information about the Brahman and Paramatma. Everything is there in the scriptures. We hear about Krishna, Krishna's teaching, Krishna's describing everything to us. Prabhupada gives the example, one who has $100, he also has $50. He also has $20. It's all included within the $100. In the same way, one who is a bhakti yogi, he also has knowledge of the Brahman and knowledge of Paramatma. But he understands ultimately the supreme goal, the supreme object of meditation is the Bhagavan feature, the absolute truth. So devotees not bewildered about these things. And then in the second section here, Prabhupada is emphasizing the importance, concentrating the mind by hearing. It's the most effective means of concentrating the mind. Some people, they will do silent meditation. They want to go, they think silent meditation, they go away from everyone, they don't want to hear anything. But best thing is to hear about Krishna. Fill the ears with topics of Krishna. There's a famous example of the monkeys. One monkey's covering his ears, hear no evil, and then covers his mouth, speak no evil, and covers his eyes, see no evil. But devotees, we don't have to do that, we just simply have to put Krishna there, and then we don't have to be afraid of anything. Hear no evil, we'll just hear about Krishna. There's no evil in hearing about Krishna. So we hear from Krishna or from Krishna's representative, the pure devotee. You don't want to hear from someone who is not a devotee. And of course, there are a lot of people who are speaking on Bhagavad Gita, but often they're not, they simply have academic qualifications and no real devotion. So it's important that Krishna is understood by devotion. Okay, here's another quote. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Someone read?
Knowing Krishna in full by hearing about him. The whole world is full of sinful life. So we are creating the atmosphere Punya Shravana, chanting and hearing. Simply by these two processes, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Punya Payas. So anyone who is coming here, even he does not understand a single word which we are speaking, if he simply hears, he becomes pious. Simply by hearing, even a child, he becomes pious. And unless we are free from our sinful life, we cannot understand about God. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.17, Los Angeles, August 20, 1972.
Thank you, Melody. Yes, Prabhupada's point, very relevant. In order to actually fully take up devotional service, we have to be freed of sinful reactions. This is a point which comes out later in the Bhagavad Gita, right? People who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and who are freed from the reactions of sins, then they can engage themselves in my service with determination. So here Prabhupada quotes Srimad Bhagavatam, Punya Shravana Kirtana. Hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam is itself a pious activity. So it creates piety in people if they would simply be willing to hear. And Prabhupada said, even a child, how much the child can actually understand, but because he's hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he'll be benefited.
Unmuted.
Probably I won't take today. Yeah. All right, this is another quote from Prabhupada about hearing. Someone read.
Knowing Krishna in full by hearing about him. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Paresanubhuti, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength.
All right. Yeah, there's a verse like that in Srimad Bhagavatam describing like that. The spiritual advancement is compared to the hungry man eating food. So the hungry man eats food, he feels relief from hunger, and not only does he feel relief from hunger, he feels also strength and nourishment and satisfaction. And similarly, when a devotee practices Krishna consciousness, hearing about Krishna, he will feel also spiritual satisfaction. he will feel, he will awaken realization of the Lord and detachment from the material. So this all comes about step by step. So it's a very relevant example. We all know what hunger is like, and we all know, you know, when you're fasting, maybe after you break the fast, you feel relief from hunger, and you feel strength and then satisfaction. So the same thing comes about by hearing about Krishna. We develop spiritual satisfaction. Okay, another quote. This Bhagavad Gita. Someone read?
Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objective. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness, BG 635. Perfect.
Okay, so we often give this example. Chanting is like the medicine. Oh no, prasadam is the medicine. Chanting, how is it we go? Curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. So expert treatment, the medicine, and the appropriate diet. And so the medicine is like that, the chanting, expert treatment, and the diet, prasadam. So hearing about Krishna, this is also part of that treatment. Although you could say hearing the mantra is one thing, but hearing also the glories of Krishna and hearing the teachings of Lord Krishna is given here in Bhagavad Gita. Another quote here from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. Yes, someone read?
One should hear with rapt attention. Sorry, Mataji, you go please.
One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, pairing, and mating. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Krishna in person in the pages of Bhagavatam.
All right, so it's a very nice purport. It's a very famous purport. I hope you're familiar with it. It's the final verse of the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto. Lord Krishna had been describing the different Leela avatars, and then at the end of the chapter, they were discussing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then how to actually concentrate the mind, how to fix the mind on hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is Prabhupada's purport to that section, that we have to hear with rapt attention from the right person also. And then Prabhupada said, if we hear in this way, one day we will see Krishna in every page. You want to see Krishna? You can see Krishna in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam or even Bhagavad Gita. If we study in the proper manner, with the right mood, with that rapt attention. And Prabhupada gives some points here. We should, in order to control the mind, you must be pure in action. And pure in action means pure in eating, sleeping, fearing and mating. But then at the end, he seems to give a concession. He says, somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam. We want to see Krishna? Read this book, read Srimad Bhagavatam. We can see Krishna there in the pages. But we have to read carefully. All right. A smaller quote here. Actually, the perfection of life depends on one's inclination to hear about Krishna. Unless one becomes interested in Krishna, in his pastimes and activities, there is no question of liberation by means of yoga practice or speculative knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam 4:23-12 purport. So, again, hearing about Krishna, Prabhupada's making the point here. Don't get into speculation. And it's not a question of yoga practice. We have to simply want to be hearing about Krishna. We should be very eager and very interested to hear about Krishna. So, that's the first verse. The second verse then goes on. Does someone like to read second verse for us?
ज्ञानं तेहं सविज्ञानम् इदं वक्ष्यामशेषतः यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयो ज्ञात्वा मम अविशिष्यते.
Yes, do you know the translation?
Yes, Maharaj. I shall not declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and luminous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know.
Okay, nothing further will remain for you to know. You know everything. So mention jnanam and vijnanam, knowledge and realization, or everything which is phenomenal and numinous. Jnanam and vijnanam. Jnanam, knowledge, and vijnanam is sometimes described as realization. So that is coming. Here's some quotes here from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in relation to this. He said, before attaining the stage of attachment to me, the devotee understands jnanam, my opulence. After that, he realizes vijnanam, my sweetness. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur speaking on behalf of Lord Krishna, before attaining the stage of attachment to Krishna, the devotee first of all understands, gets some knowledge of Krishna's opulence, and then he goes on to realize Krishna's sweetness. And Baladeva Vijayabhusan, in regard to this, it's a little different. He says, Jnanam refers to knowledge about Krishna's spiritual and material energies. We'll be looking at that in a minute, about Krishna's spiritual and material energy. And Vijnanam refers to his transcendental form apart from these energies. In other words, Krishna's eternal form and pastimes are not related to the material creation. Krishna has his own place in the spiritual world. He's not related to the material creation. Srila Prabhupada says, complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. The sweetness, this big jnanam, the realizing the sweetness of the Lord. Certainly, it's not very common. It's rare. And that's how this verse follows. After speaking in that way about knowing everything, realizing that sweetness being rare, Lord Krishna speaks this verse. Someone read?
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चित् सिद्धये यथा तम अपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन् मां वेति तत्वतः.
Translation.
Out of thousand amongst men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who attain perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
Yeah, it's not, in other words, it's rare people actually know the sweetness of Krishna. So here's a little exercise for you. Vaishnava, and how many people do we have in the class tonight?
20, Maharaj.
20, all right. So, can we have pairs?
Okay, all right, Maharaj. I'll divide.
Yeah, before you divide, we'll first of all, here's the question. We want you to discuss with your partner that it said, Bhakti is easy because it requires no material qualifications. But in another sense, it's the most difficult process. So how could this statement be misunderstood in relation to the devotees of Krishna, and in particular to ISKCON devotees? Everyone got the question?
Yeah, many.
So, we'll give you some, 5 minutes? 5 minutes to talk about this, see how you get on, 5 minutes?
So how do we do it in a pair outside this call? Is it, Maharaj?
The devotee will give you a partner. The devotee, there should be somebody putting people into pairs, and they'll put you. We go into rooms, right? You have rooms. We have outside. Yeah, we go outside. Break out rooms, and you'll be with a partner, and you can discuss.
So shall I open now, Maharaj?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Maharaj, I did not understand. I could not understand this question very well. How may this statement be misunderstood?
Yes. How may it be misunderstood? In other words, we may, we put the wrong meaning into this question, into this point, this statement. We don't understand it properly. And we take some other meaning from it. In relation to the devotees of Krishna. Devotees of Krishna, we say, oh, bhakti is easy because it requires no material qualifications. But it's the most difficult process. So, is it easy or is it not? So we may say, well, it's easy, but at the same time it's not, So we may misunderstand it. It's easy for some people, it's not easy for other people. How should we take this statement? This Vaishnava integrity. Let's see. Well, it's described here. Oh no. The idea is to understand the statement, and often we will put the meaning we want to go into the statement rather than the meaning which is actually intended by the author. So how should we actually understand? How do you understand this statement in relation to devotees of Krishna? How can we what are the different ways in which this statement could be understood? And what is the correct way to understand it? Bhakti is easy. Yes, we know it's easy to hold the beads and to chant Hare Krishna. But it's the most difficult. No, it's very difficult to get people to chant properly, to chant without offense, to fix their mind on the holy name. It's not so easy. So we may consider, devotees of Krishna, they have the easiest process. It's a very easy thing to be a devotee of Krishna. We may take the first part of the statement. Oh, yeah, anybody can be a devotee of Krishna. It's easy. No material qualifications. You don't have to have any qualifications to be a devotee of Krishna. So if you don't have to have any material qualifications, it's nothing. We shouldn't value it very much. We don't need to value it very much because you don't have to have any qualifications, so it can't be very important. We may put so many different understandings into these kind of statements. But in another sense, it's the most difficult process. Oh, it's so difficult. Oh, then nobody can do it. Then why should I bother trying if it's so difficult? I don't want, I don't want to do something that's so difficult. I shouldn't waste my time trying. And then, in particular, to ISKCON devotees. Well, ISKCON devotees, how do we differ from devotees of Krishna? Is there a difference between ISKCON devotees and devotees of Krishna? Of course, devotees of ISKCON are also Krishna devotees, but there are devotees of Krishna who are not members of ISKCON. So what is the particular thing, what things are particular to ISKCON devotees? So take some time, take a few minutes and discuss with your partners and see what you can come up with on your own. And we'll come back. Right? Give you 5 minutes to talk about this with your partner and see if you can come up with some ideas.
Shall I open it now, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Param Karuna Madhav Prabhu, please join the room.
All right. I think time's up, Prabhu.
Okay, Maharaj, I'll close the rooms now. So it will get closed by 1 minute.
Yes.
It will take. So all are back.
All right.
Form and not the substance. We forget what is the substance of doing that thing. Like
Mataji, the breakout room has been finished. We are back.
Sorry.
All right, everyone's back? Oh. Hare Krishna, what happened?
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you have started a room, Maharaj.
How did I get in the room? My goodness.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I'm back in the main session, right? I had a quick journey into one room. All right, let's...
I had someone in my group, Maharaji, but I couldn't hear him because his audio was not working. So
oh my goodness.
I couldn't discuss anything, but I'll mention what I feel.
All right, do you have some thoughts on it? Would you like to share with us?
Yeah, so I mean, this is something that I've thought about, that, you know, when we say that bhakti is easy because it doesn't require any material qualification is okay. But when we talk about the process, where it says that you have to have your mind fixed on Krishna, right, with him being the center, and we are engaged in worshipping him with transcendental faith. Now, this process of bhakti is tough, especially when people are entangled in material world. So it becomes very difficult. And I feel that while it's easy to say that bhakti doesn't require a qualification, but to fix ourselves on Krishna in mind and in faith is a difficult process. And I was relating it back to the 8-step process or a 9-step process from Shraddha to Prema. Now that's where it is a process that we have to follow to reach the point of bhakti. So it's not something that on the very first day you are able to kind of do bhakti in a pure way. And that's what I feel is a difficult process. Now, please tell me if I'm going in the right direction or not.
I didn't quite pick up on which point. Where's the misunderstanding? How you know the...
Oh, so okay, so you might misunderstand it that yes, I can become the bhakt on the very first day. So that it's an easy, you know, like you don't need a qualification. So that's a misunderstanding, right, because you do need to follow a process.
Right.
You know, so I think that is a misunderstanding. If when I joined ISKCON, it is not easy. That's what I could feel in the first few days, that it is a whole process that I have to follow. So it is a misunderstanding if someone feels that I could become a pure bhakt on the very first day. It is a good Vigyan process, you know, and when you say Vigyan, it is a methodical process according to me. It is not an easy thing on the first day. And I could see the difference between, say, ISKCON devotee and normal devotees that we see in our day-to-day home, that I am Krishna Bhakta or I pray to Krishna every day. But there is a difference, right? Because of the methodical process that you go through to get fixated on Krishna and to fix your mind in Krishna and faith in Krishna.
Yes. Thank you very much. Very nice. Now, actually, in Madhurya Kadambini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes different anarthas which are there in devotional service. And one of them is that there's a lot of enthusiasm due to pride in the beginning of devotional service, because sometimes we think, this is easy, this is easy, 16 rounds, this is easy, you know. In the beginning, sometimes, you know, people come and we're thinking, oh, nothing very difficult here, yeah, you know, I'm a pure devotee, why not? We're thinking so, not very challenging, you know.
Far from there.
Yeah, but as we go on, of course, we see there's so many paths, so many things to be understood, so many, so much progress is still to be made. Okay, so thank you very much, Mataji. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to share with us? Yes, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, you mind if I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mataji, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Maharaj, like we hear that these two things, that one is Bhakti is like, and it's so easy and it's, you know, it's such a good process that even if we walk with closed eyes, we will never fall down. Even Rupa Goswami says in NOD that there is no, that one who is practicing all the rules and regulations in Bhakti, he will never fall down. And if there is a fall down, then that will be a circumstantial fall down. So in that sense, it's easy because we don't require any material qualification, especially we hear the verse 9.26, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. I mean, everyone can satisfy Krishna through simple means. So we don't require any material qualification. So in that sense, it's easy. But still we also hear that Bhakti is like a sharpened razor. So in that sense, to come to Bhakti, although we don't require material qualification, we do need Bhakti and Mukh Sukriti. We need mercy of devotees. And after we come to Bhakti, that time we have to be very sincere and we have to be very careful that we don't break any regulated principle. We are following all the rules very strictly. And simultaneously, we should always be humble and we should know that we cannot advance in Bhakti without the mercy of devotees, without the Bhakti of spiritual master. So it's both the things. It's in one sense, it's you can even walk with closed eyes and you'll never fall. But in the other sense, it's like a sharpened razor.
Yes, okay. So where's the misunderstanding? That one way we think you can walk with closed eyes, but but we should be careful because it's a sharpened razor. We can get cut easily. Okay. All right, thank you, Prabhu, for that. Yes? Someone else has a hand up here?
Can I say something, Maharaj?
Please do.
We were discussing, Maharaj, everybody is saying Bhakti is easy, but when you're introduced to Krishna consciousness, you're told only these many rounds, only this to be done, only that. But when we actually come to the gravity of those rules, and we'll actually try to understand, okay, these are important rules and regulations that we need to follow to climb up the ladder of advancement in Krishna consciousness, we often tend to become lazy and we're like, sorry, can't do it. So that way, I think ISKCON devotees, misunderstand that way, okay, since it's difficult, Bhakti might be easy, but it's difficult at the same time, and it's difficult, we can't do it, so we let go of it sometimes. It's okay, since it's difficult and we can't do it, let's not even try to do it. This is one thing that we, brought down as a conclusion, okay, that this sometimes it actually becomes difficult to pull yourself up and follow those rules and regulations and those instructions to the T and to dot the I's and cross the T's.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, there are we may think, well, some things are just too difficult, we won't even try to do it, right? So, yeah, people, that is quite common, especially in ISKCON devotees, right? Because we do have all these rules and regulations, you know. If you're just an ordinary Krishna devotee, oh, I'm a devotee, you know. Do you chant? No, I don't chant, you know. I'm a devotee, though, I'm a devotee. ISKCON devotees, there's so many things you have to do, you know. So how much can we do as an ISKCON devotee? Very nice realization. Thank you, Manaji. Very nice.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
We'll just take one more.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj, I would like to say that I would like to comment on chanting process. For example, chanting seems to be very easy, but it's not as easy as it seems to be. For ISKCON devotees especially know it very well. Chanting is done at offenses stage, then without offenses stage, but we have to cover a long path to come to the stage without offenses. So if we compare Krishna devotees who are living outside ISKCON to the ISKCON devotees, then there is a huge difference. ISKCON devotees have to, of course, like Mataji said, and you also agreed, yes, of course, ISKCON devotees have to undergo lots of training processes. Like right now, we are also studying this Bhakti Sastri courses. This is also a part of our training. So, but outside ISKCON, Krishna devotees are not following all these things. Whatever they do, I think they do as per their whims and fancies. That's all, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yes, chanting is not easy. It's a challenge for all of us. We have to understand the difficulties. Okay, let's go ahead here. Coming back to our PowerPoint. Okay. So, Prabhupada said, in relation to that, you know, we're talking easy. Prabhupada says, what is the difficulty? So, someone can read?
Although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti or devotional service is very easy, they cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy, as the non-devotee class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practiced by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. BG 7.3 pp.
Thank you, Manaji. Yes. So Prabhupada's giving us a conclusion of our exercise there on Vaishnava integrity, that actually path of bhakti is not so easy. And certainly when we try to follow all the rules and regulations, it's a great challenge. How strict we can be as devotees and how much we can follow. It's not so easy. Okay, maybe that Manaji could, you know, if you have a lot of background noise, can you mute your microphone? Okay, we're going to go ahead. Kastyan mam veti tatvataha. Okay, this is still 7.3. Kastyan mam veti tatvataha, vijnana. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. right? Prabhupada is explaining impersonal Brahman realization may be easier than understanding Krishna. This is it's easier to understand we're not the body, we're simply souls. That's not a very difficult thing to understand, that I'm not the body, I'm a soul. I think many times, many people who have that kind of understanding, that kind of knowledge, but to find somebody who actually understands the nature of the soul and the relationship of the soul with the super soul, then that's very rare. Just having simple knowledge of the impersonal Brahman, understanding I'm not the body, it's nice. It's, you know, they're good people. They have some spiritual realization, but still they're a long way from understanding Krishna.
So Maharajji, I have a question here on this particular line that mentions that Krishna can be known only by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Just want to check with you that if I think about Mirabai, right, who was the ardent devotee of Krishna, she was not following any, movement or society, right? So she was on her own and a great devotee of Krishna. So what's the difference between her devotion and someone who is following everything in Krishna consciousness?
Yes, there is some difference there. You know, when you hear some of the bhajans of Mirabai, you'll see her mood in relating to Krishna is different from the mood of the pure devotees, like the Goswamis, how they present the mood of Krishna, approaching Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how is he presenting us to Krishna consciousness? The Goswamis, under the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they all worship Krishna in the mood of separation, in the mood of service and separation. You don't see that in Mirabai. She's not presenting that mood of service and separation. She's not a follower of the gopis. She has her own individual relationship with Krishna, but she's not following in the line as we know it from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself follows in the mood of the gopis, because he declared the gopis to be the greatest devotees of Krishna. So there is difference there. Mirabai's mood, if you listen to her bhajans and how she sings about Krishna, she's seeing Krishna and so on. But the mood of the people like Narottam Das Thakur and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Goswamis, they're all talking, they're feeling more the mood of separation from Krishna, the mood of giving service to Krishna, submission to Krishna, and following in the mood of the gopis, vipralamba seva. So that's a difference. The Mirabai is not connected in any parampara. She didn't come through any line of disciplic succession. She wasn't trained by any acharyas. But she had her own devotion for Krishna. No, it's nice. But it's not quite in the mood. See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Goswamis, they're teaching about developing this mood of the great longing for Krishna, and this mood of separation from Krishna and feeling just the longing to be with Krishna. So this is the special feature of the devotion which is taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees like Rupa Goswami and the other Goswamis, Narottam Das Thakur and so on. They're all in this line. You understand?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, sort of. But did she know Krishna? The way we say that only Krishna consciousness people can know Krishna. But did she know him?
Well, yes. Yes, she knew him according to her in her own way, you know? Not quite in the way in which we know her. We know Krishna.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Yes, here's from Prabhupada's purport. Could someone help me to read this, please?
It is not possible for a Brahman realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Muyanti yat surya mam tu veda na kaschina. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says. And if one does know him, then sa mahatma sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, one cannot know Krishna as he is. Atvata. Even though one is a great scholar or a philosopher. Bhagavad Gita 7.3 purport.
All right, so here you can see some particular ways of which we understand Krishna. We were hearing about Mirabai just now. So Mirabai, she has her particular image of Krishna and her mood of Krishna, relating to Krishna. But here in our line of Krishna consciousness, we think of Krishna as the son of Mother Yashoda, or the charioteer of Arjuna. This is particularly the mood of devotees. And our line, now Mirabai, she doesn't have quite that kind of mood. You're not thinking of Krishna as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. She's thinking of him in a different way, in her own way. So we are following the line of our acharyas. And they're teaching us, we want to understand Krishna in this way. The Brahman realized impersonalists and the Paramatma realized yogis, they can never think like this. The Gyanis, the Brahma Gyanis, they're only thinking the oneness of Brahman. And the yogis, they just think of the Paramatma, the Super Soul, the Lord in the heart. But we're thinking of Krishna in these different ways, with Mother Yashoda, with Arjuna, the very special. And Prabhupada said, even the demigods, they get confused about Krishna. And Krishna also knows that. The Mahatmas are not very common. So it doesn't help you just being a great scholar or philosopher. What's important is devotion. And devotion is cultivated by association with devotees. In the association of devotees, we hear about Krishna. We'll be hearing about Krishna. All right, so Prabhupada explains, nobody is interested to become Brahmana. They are interested to become dogs and hawks. That is their interest. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid jatati siddhaye. And yatadamapi siddhanam. It is not that coming to the platform of a qualified Brahmana, one can understand Krishna. That is also not complete. Still you have to go further. So Brahmana is just the mode of goodness. To actually understand Krishna, we have to come to the level Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. We have to transcend the three modes, right? We have to go on from there. So Prabhupada is quoting the 7.3, this Yatatamapi Siddhanam, hardly one knows me in truth. Some people may understand the Brahman. That's not full, that's only part. All right, so we show here, moving on. From 7.3, we're going up, verse number 4 and number 5. Verse number 4 describes the inferior energy, the paraprakriti, the elements of the material nature, the mahabhutis, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Right? These are the 8 elements of the material nature, the inferior or apara prakriti, inferior prakriti. And it's described as Krishna's separated energies, right? Does anybody, someone can explain to me why it's separated? Yes, anyone?
Manoj, maybe because this has, all of these have no consciousness.
Yes, that's certainly true. That's the difference between the para and the apara prakriti. So we have the inferior prakriti, it's inanimate, it doesn't have consciousness. But the para prakriti is superior, it does have consciousness. But what is...
Maharaj,
yes?
Maharaj, is this because Krishna does not interact with this energy directly?
Yes, right. That's right. Krishna doesn't directly involve himself with the material energy. Prabhupada gives an example. He said, just like in the material world, a man may have a wife, but they may be separated. You know, maybe they don't get along well together and they just decide to separate. You know, they don't keep a close connection with each other. So the relation is not so intimate. So Krishna's relationship with the material energy is like that. On another occasion, Prabhupada gave a different example. He said, just like, the milk of the cow. Prabhupada said, the milk of the cow is a separated energy of the cow. And then another time, recorded lecture. The recorded lecture, in Prabhupada's time, you know, it was reel-to-reel tape recorders. But Prabhupada said that this recording, this is my separated energy. So Prabhupada gave us different examples to understand this separated material energy. Alright, so the apara prakriti is inanimate, no consciousness, but the para prakriti is superior, has consciousness, right? Apariyamitastvanyam prakriti vidime param. Jiva bhuta mahabaho yedam daryate jagat, right? We do have a problem. Although we are superior energy, we are exploiting the resources of this material nature. This is our defect. Jiva bhuta mahabaho yeyedam daryate jagat. Yeyedam daryate jagat. We thinking this material nature is for our enjoyment. We're taking it for ourselves. We're not recognizing who is actually the proprietor. We are thinking we are the master. In actual fact, we are the servant. We are prakriti. We may be para-prakriti, but we're still prakriti. We're not the Purush. Krishna is the Purush. But we're thinking we're the Purush. So this is the problem.
Maharaj, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, please do. Yes.
Maharaj, many times Srila Prabhupada would often mention that when this material energy, when we connect it to Krishna, it becomes spiritualized. Like some of these material elements, like a mic, microphone, or something. This is how he gives examples. They become spiritualized. So what does it technically mean that they become spiritualized? Knowing that this is a separated material energy, so what does it mean that it becomes spiritualized?
It means that we're using it in the service of Krishna. It's connecting to Krishna's service. So in that sense, it's become spiritualized. Simply that. The spiritual connection is made by the utility of the object in Krishna's service.
So it does not that it becomes some sort of part of the internal potency of the Lord when that object is being used for Krishna's service?
Does it become part of the internal potency? Well, you know, it remains still it's still in the material world, and it's not going to go back to Godhead, right? It's here in the material world, but we're utilizing it for the higher purpose, for the service of Krishna. So in that sense, it's becoming spiritualized. Can we say it's part of the internal potency of Krishna? Temporarily. So long as you use it in the service of Krishna, yes. If you always use it in the service of Krishna, then it's the internal potency. But if you use it for some other thing, then, you know, just like we ourselves, we are jivas. You know, we can also be part of the internal potency, but we can also fall back into the material world. So our position is not going to be 100%. Not that we're fully under the influence of the internal potency.
Understood, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding the same thing. So, can we go back to the slide? I'm not able to see.
Okay.
Okay. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, all together, these constitute separated material energies. Okay. So, what I understood is that because Krishna doesn't deal with them directly, so they are called separated. Krishna does not deal with them directly. What does this actually mean? Because if Krishna, like when he descended or when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descended, he dealt with Yamuna water. He dealt with other things also. So what is the meaning of Krishna doesn't deal with earth, water directly? So I didn't understand that.
Well, it's a material energy, right? It's inferior. It's in here in the material world. It's not under his internal potency. These elements of the material world, they're created and annihilated again and again. Sometimes they're manifest, sometimes they're not. It's the nature of the material elements. They're eternal, but sometimes they're manifest, sometimes they're not. At the end of the life of Brahma, it's all annihilated again. And enters into Mahavishnu, and then there's again creation, it's all created. So, this is the material world. Krishna is not really enjoying this material world. He doesn't come, he comes to this world, and he does perform some pastimes here. But when he comes, he will bring with him his own abode. He will bring with him the Vrindavan Dham, and he'll bring the Govardhan Hill and like that, you know, and he'll bring also Srimati Radharani. So he brings the internal potency here into this world. But the material world is not really a place. It's described temporary place of misery. So Krishna doesn't take much pleasure here. He doesn't take pleasure in the material world. He gets his pleasure in the spiritual world, with his eternal devotees. Yeah? Hare Krishna?
Okay. Yeah. Yes, Maharaj. Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Krishna's material and spiritual energy, the science of God. Okay, here's Krishna. Here's the apara prakriti. No consciousness, right? And up here we have the para prakriti, living entities, conscious by nature, qualitatively equal to the Lord. That's the living entities. The inferior energy, no consciousness, just material ingredients. And there's a connection. Para prakriti and the apara prakriti. We need to take a body. We come to this material world. We need a body. So under the direction of Krishna, the living entities, the para prakriti, they accept a body made up of the apara prakriti. And then the spirit soul needs to have a material body because we have material desires. So under the direction of Krishna, we take on material bodies. All right, let's go ahead. Oh. Bina Prakriti, separated energy. So here's from Prabhupada's explanation from a lecture in New Vrindavan. Someone read for us?
Vinna means separated. An example is when I speak into the tape recorder, when you replay the tape recorder, you hear my voice. But it is not me, it is my separated energy. With my energy, I have spoken. I have vibrated some sound and it is recording on the tape. When it is played back, it produces exactly the same sound, but it is separated from me. Try to understand. This material world is just like that, Vinna, separate. Real life is in the spiritual world, and these energies, the external energy, Krishna says, are separated. Separated means you cannot perceive Krishna directly from this energy. Bhagavad Gita 7.4, New Vrindavan, 1974.
All right. We cannot perceive Krishna directly from this energy. Okay, knowledge of the absolute energies of Krishna. Oh, this is not a very important point. We can read it quickly. Someone read.
The first 5 gross elements plus their sense objects, earth, fragrance, water, taste, fire, form, air, touch, and ether, sound, add up to 10 elements. Mind, intelligence, and false ego bring the total to 13. The false ego is the cause of 5 knowledge-acquiring senses and the 5 working senses. That equals 23 elements. Finally, we add the Mahatattva, the 24th element, which is the cause of false ego. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes. So this is from Surrender Unto Me by Barijan Prabhu, describing how the elements of the material creation number 24. Right? Initially we heard 8 elements, now it's become 24, more detail. Krishna is addressed as Mahabaho. Bhagavad Gita 7.4, 7.5, yes? Krishna, why is Arjuna addressed as Mahabaho? Please read.
Arjuna is addressed as Mahabaho, the great warrior. Can you understand what is meant by great warrior? Whoever is acting under Krishna's direction is a great warrior, just as Arjuna is fighting this battle. So when you take shelter of Krishna and fight against material opposing elements, Shudras, you are also Mahabhaho. You are fighting with persons who are not Krishna conscious. You are pushing on the Krishna consciousness movement by fighting. But this fighting is different. This was taught by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopanga Sastra Prashadam. Lecture Bhagavad Gita 7.45.
Yeah, that's Prabhupada lecturing in Bombay 1971. He's encouraging the devotees. They had to fight there. You remember? Prabhupada bought the land, and at one point the devotees all got locked up and arrested, and they tried to break the temple. Well, it was a real battle. And so Prabhupada's encouraging the devotees there. This fighting is different. This was taught by Lord Chaitanya. You're pushing on Krishna consciousness movement by fighting. So we have to also become great warriors. We do have to fight. We have to push on Krishna consciousness. Despite all the elements, despite all the opposition, we have to push on regardless. Going on, verse number 6 of the 7th chapter. Krishna is the creator. Lord is the cause of the world by these two energies, Maya Shakti and Jiva Shakti, Shitra and Shitragna. Right? So 7.4, we heard about the Prakriti, the different elements of Prakriti, the inferior Prakriti. Then 7.5 was describing the superior Prakriti, or the Jiva. Now, verses number 6 and 7 are going to describe about Lord Krishna, who is the Ishwara. So you can see the Prakriti, Jiva, Ishwara, that interaction between these things. So you have the Jiva Shakti and the Maya Shakti, right? Kshetra is the field, or the Maya Shakti, and the Kshetragna is the living entity. And there are two Kshetragnas. The Paramatma is also the Kshetragna. He is the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction. The soul of all souls. Oh, wonderful verse, number 7, right? This is a very nice verse. I hope you all know it very well. You should be familiar.
Maharaj, can I ask a question regarding the last verse?
Okay, Prabhu, go ahead. Yeah.
So, Maharaj, it is mentioned then Kshetra and Kshetragya. So why is Kshetra and Kshetragya, these technical words are used? Because Krishna could have easily Prakriti or Jeev. What is the technical import of these two words?
Well, Kshetra is, I said, field, right? And Kshetragna is the knower of the field. And so the body is like a field. Just like you have a piece of land, you have a field. And so you plant things in it. You do work with the field, you cultivate the land, and you produce something. Or some people, they may have land, they may not cultivate it. They just let the weeds grow. And so the body is like that. It depends how we use it. It's like a field. You can use the body to become self-realized, or you can use the body to just eat and sleep. So but of course you get reactions depending on what you plant. If you plant melons, you will harvest melons. If you plant beans, you will harvest beans. You can't think, oh, I'll plant beans and grow rice. You won't. You get the results. Jaisa karega, aisa parega, right? You say in Hindi, you say like that. You get the results. And so the body is like a field. And it depends how we use it. And the knower of the field is there. The living entity, the super soul also. There are two Kshetras. You understand? These two terms are used in the 13th chapter in the Bhagavad Gita. You can refer chapter 13 verses 1 and 2. They explain there, because Lord Krishna will also use Shitra and Shitratna there in chapter 13 Bhagavad Gita. And he talks there about the field. Prabhupada also talked about the field, planting the seeds, and how you use the field. You get that, you're going to get the appropriate results. Depends how you use the field. So how you use the body will depend. Are you going to go to hell? Are you going to go to heaven? Or are you going to get liberation and be a devotee? It depends on us, how we use this body. Yeah?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So Krishna is the soul of all souls. Number 7. Very nice verse, very important verse. Mata parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam proktam sutre mani gana eva. This is a very important verse. Note here that Lord Krishna is saying there is no truth superior to me. Now, we can point out that nobody else says that. Lord Shiva never says there's no truth superior to me. And neither does Mother Durga, neither does Ganesh, none of the Devas ever say there is no truth superior to me. Only Krishna says like this, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests on me. And Krishna gives this beautiful example. Everything rests on him, just like the pearls are on a thread. And you can see in the picture there, the deity is wearing beautiful beads around the neck. You see the beads, we don't see the thread. So it's like that. Everything is resting on Krishna, but we don't see Krishna. Just as we don't see the thread which is supporting all the pearls. So the example is very appropriate. And Krishna conceals himself. Krishna doesn't reveal himself to everyone. But he's making a very powerful, very strong statement here that there is no truth superior to him. And Prabhupada explains, absolute truth is a person. There is a common controversy over whether the Supreme Absolute Truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is stressed that the Absolute Truth is a person, right? Krishna is speaking and he's saying, I am the highest truth. There is no truth superior to me. So obviously, the absolute truth must be a person. If we take this statement as truthful, as being fact, then the absolute truth is a person. Any comments and questions on this?
Maharaj, I'm not clear about why Srila Prabhupada is saying that, because it says that he's the Supreme Absolute Truth, so he's a person. So how is he connecting the two?
Because Krishna spoke this verse, Lord Krishna spoke this verse, and he said that he is the highest truth. He said, I am the absolute truth. Now Krishna is a person. We have to accept that Krishna is speaking. It's not a voice in the clouds which is speaking. It's Krishna, Lord Krishna himself is there on the battlefield of Kurukshetra with Arjuna, in front of Arjuna, and he's telling Arjuna, I am the highest truth. I am the absolute truth. There is no truth above me. So it must be personal. Krishna is a person. You can't say Krishna is not a person. Huh?
Yes, Maharaj. Noted. Thank you.
But Maharaj, some impersonalists do also say that Krishna's body and Krishna's soul is different. So they can understand this in a different sense. They understand this in the sense that Krishna's soul is what we say the highest truth.
Yeah, but Krishna doesn't say that. You see, this is their speculation. They put words into the mouth of Krishna. They come up with these nonsense propositions, nonsense proposals. They're not accepting the words of Lord Krishna as he's speaking. Prabhupada calls his Gita as it is, but they want to change everything. They want to make everything the way they want it. They don't follow the teachings of Krishna. We cannot endorse anything these people are saying, because it's all speculative. It has nothing in the scriptures to support their words. So we're following Lord Krishna as he spoke. What's his message? If Krishna wanted to say that, he would have said that himself. He would have made it very clear. We don't find that there. This is their own speculation.
Yeah.
That is why the 7th chapter began. Hear. We have to hear from the right person. If you hear from the wrong person, then you get problems. You'll be doomed. You have to hear from the devotees. You have to hear through the parampara. Otherwise, so many problems. So many speculations, so many nonsense ideas, and you get nowhere. All right, we'll go ahead. All right, next section of Bhagavad Gita, texts 8 to 12. Krishna is the maintainer of the universe. Yes, someone read?
O son of Kunti, O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man.
All right, yeah. Lord Krishna is taking basic elements of the material world. Water, one of the elements, the sun and the moon, main planet. Then you have ether also. So we have water, ether. Go ahead, Manaji.
This verse explains how the Lord is all-pervasive by his diverse material and spiritual energy. The Supreme Lord can be preliminary perceived by his different energies, and this way he is realized impersonally.
Okay, we should understand these things. Prabhupada's explaining to us how to perceive Krishna indirectly. He has realized this is impersonal. He is realized impersonally by his different energies. The taste of water, the light of the sun, all of these things, these are Krishna's energies. And we could say, this is Krishna. Sometimes when people would say, have you seen God? Prabhupada would say, who has not seen the light of the sun and the moon? Everyone has seen. That is Krishna. So, we can see Krishna in this way by his different energies. But of course, this is his impersonal feature. This is not Krishna directly, but impersonally we see Krishna through his energies.
Maharaj, I have a question here.
Yes.
So in a few verses back, Krishna mentioned his separated energies, wherein we discussed we cannot perceive Krishna directly. Indirectly, we can say that, okay, these are Krishna's energies. And almost similar thing is mentioned here, but here it is more specific. I'm the taste of water. In that verse, it was mentioned that only water is a separated energy, but now he's very specifically saying a taste of water. He's not saying a taste of other things. So how should I understand this?
Well, before we were hearing just simply water. We didn't hear about the taste of water. We simply heard water. The elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. But here, Krishna says the taste of water. There's a particular feature of the water which is significant. Right? We want to understand how Krishna is. We want to understand how Lord Krishna is present there. It's that feature of taste which represents Krishna.
So basically the elements and any feature which the elements have.
Yeah, well, he mentions also the sound in ether, not just simply ether, but sound in ether. So these are actually, we'll see in chapter 10, these are like vibhutis of Krishna. These are actually the expansions of Krishna, how Krishna comes in this material world in these particular ways. So a devotee can actually see Krishna. Well, actually, Arjuna asked Krishna, how can the common man, in chapter 10, Arjuna was asking Krishna, how can a common man perceive you through the material world? And that led to Krishna speaking about Vibhuti Yoga. And he described many different things similar to here. He spoke about, for example, of beasts I am the lion, of aquatics I'm the shark, of rivers I'm the Ganga, of immovable things I'm the Himalayas, like this. So many features of the material world. So here also, Lord Krishna is describing how we can see him through his different energies. But, again, this is his impersonal feature. All right?
Okay.
So it goes on to verse 12. Right? Someone like to read for us this statement?
So even you are not inclined to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then try to understand Krishna in this way. This is the process given by Sri Krishna himself. Rasoham apstu kanteya. You have to drink water. You cannot avoid it. So when you taste while drinking water, anything drinking, apsu means an liquid thing. Either you drink milk or even up to you drink wine. So you have got some taste in any liquid thing while drinking. So Krishna says, Rasoham apstu Kaunteya. My dear Kaunteya, Arjuna, that taste in the liquid thing which you drink or use, that I am. Just see how easily it can be done. Nothing is without drinking something liquid. Either Coca-Cola or water or this or that. We have all to drink something. So Krishna says that I am the taste. So where is the difficulty to understanding Krishna? Bhagavad Gita 7.8, Bombay, Feb 23, 1974.
Thank you, Maharaji, yes. Yes, Prabhupada is stressing this point, that I am the taste. Krishna says I am the taste. Not just I'm water, but I am the taste. Right? Actually, Prabhupada was in Indonesia, in Jakarta, and there was one man there, and he was telling Prabhupada, he said, Swamiji, he said, you know, I like Krishna very much, but I also like wine, I like to drink alcohol. So Prabhupada was telling him like that, you know, he said, you should think that taste, that is Krishna. Prabhupada was telling him, he said, when you drink, you just think that taste, that is Krishna. Okay.
Maharaj, just one quick question.
Yes.
So since all these things pertain to the impersonal aspect of realizing Krishna, I'm just wondering what is the relevance of these verses for practicing bhakti yogis? So practicing devotees, what is the relevance of these verses? How should we perceive these verses?
Well, we also can see Krishna in the material world. It's helpful for us also. It's not that we can always see Krishna in his three or four bending form. You know, we cannot always just be thinking of, we're not so advanced that we can just be thinking of Krishna in this form of Shyam Sundar. And so we can also learn to see Krishna through these different features of the material world. The different ways in which, and we sometimes in our own preaching and presenting to other people, you may be able to remember Krishna Shyam Sundar in a threefold bending form, playing on the flute with the lotus eyes and head bedecked with peacock feathers, but not everyone can do that. And for ordinary people, they need to hear these things. They need to hear how Krishna is present through his different energies.
Thank you so much.
Practically, it becomes sometimes very difficult. Sometimes the water is salty, so that time we don't remember Krishna there. We say, oh, what is this?
Yes, but that's something in the salt, right? It's the water itself is salt, has its taste, but you're tasting the salt. Now you have to take the salt out from the water, then you can actually taste the water. Yeah, salty water is not very pleasant, but the water itself is still pleasant. It's just polluted with the salt. So we have to have desalinated water. All right, we're going to speak a little more here about this integrity, Vaishnava integrity. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere, and one who knows Krishna consciousness is blessed. Krishna's everywhere in everything. Where everything rests on him, like the pearls are strung on a thread. Nobody sees the thread. We don't see Krishna, but Krishna's everywhere. So we want to develop that kind of vision. We say Vaishnava integrity is meant to equip students with the ability to see through the eyes of Shastra and with a Krishna conscious world view, ultimately to assist the students in realizing scripture and in seeing Krishna at all times and in all places. And so, you know, when we read these verses in the Bhagavad Gita, it should help us to actually see Krishna. We may say, oh, we're bhaktas, we're doing bhakti yoga, this is impersonal, but it's all part of Krishna. Krishna, we say, Brahmeti Paramadmeti Bhagavan iti Shabyate. It's all part of the absolute truth. Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So it's all pleasing to the devotee. The devotee sees the impersonal feature, they also immediately can relate it to Krishna. The presence of Krishna can be perceived everywhere through his para, spiritual, and apara, material energies. What prevents us from seeing, knowing, and surrendering to him? Right? What prevents us from seeing, knowing, and surrendering to Krishna? Any answers? Krishna's everywhere. Why are you not seeing and knowing and surrendering? Yes, Manaji?
Maharaj, nothing. Nothing is, except our mind, nothing.
What do you mean?
Nothing can stop me seeing Krishna, knowing Krishna is rendered to Krishna, Maharaj.
Nothing stops you from seeing Krishna?
Yes.
So you're seeing Krishna all the time?
Maharaj, as we are reading, like, light is Krishna, water is, the taste of water is Krishna, Sham Sundar is there.
So, what about when you're not reading the Bhagavad Gita, though? Are you seeing Krishna then?
Yes, Maharaj, as we are reading that light, we are using, whole day we are using light. So that's Krishna. Water is Krishna. Every human being is there in the Paramatma form.
So you're always Krishna conscious?
No, Maharaj, but
So what stops you from being Krishna conscious?
Maharajji, should I say something?
Yes.
Maharajji, these are our anarthas actually. Unless and until anarth nivritti is there, one cannot perceive Krishna consciousness always.
Yes. Right. Yeah, we have a lot of anarthas in our heart. Material attachments, material desires, and they stop us from seeing and knowing and surrendering to Krishna. Very true, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Why people don't know the Supreme Lord? Right? Someone read the verse, 7:13. Go ahead.
Tribir gunmani mair bhaver evir sarvamidam jagat mohitam na vijanati mamebhya paramavyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible.
Right. Above the... This is why we don't know Krishna. We're deluded by the three modes. That's the problem. Of course, Prabhu said anarthas. We could say also the three modes. We're deluded by these three modes. And that's why we don't know Krishna. Because Krishna's above the modes. We're under the modes. So this is a problem. This is why we don't know Krishna. One covered by illusory energy does not know him. Yes, someone read?
One covered by illusory energy does not know him. By the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life, and we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or Brahman, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is behind all these modes.
Right. The bodily concept of life, right? So this is the Maya. We're in this bodily conception. Because of the influence of the modes of nature, we forget Krishna. Yes? Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature. And those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. If we're actually Krishna conscious, then we're liberated. Liberated means above the modes, free from the modes. So we want to come to that level. We want to get free of passion and ignorance. And we want to even get free of the mode of goodness and come up to that level, pure goodness. We said the Brahmana, he's also material, he's in the mode of goodness, he's on the material platform. We want to transcend that. We want to become Vaishnava, Shuddha Sattva, come to pure goodness. That is actually liberating. An exercise for you. Make a list of things stopping us from seeing Krishna. Discuss with your partner how you can overcome these things. All right? Not a very difficult exercise. Very simple. Give you 5 minutes. Right? Pairs. Can you make pairs, Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj, I'm just making now.
Make a list. I'm sure you've got a big list. I have a big list. I know you must have a big list. But
Shall I open it now, Maharaj?
Yes. Hare Krishna. Do I get a partner? Hare Krishna.
Recording in progress.
Yagna?
Yes, Maharaj.
You put me in a room, but there was nobody there. I was on
Yes,
my
Maharaj.
own.
Actually, there was one devotee with you, so I shifted him to another room. So you were alone there. So I just moved you to.
Yeah, I was on my own.
But Maharaj, you are the co-host, and then you can join any of the room you want.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see.
डिपेंड है मतलब हम पे डिपेंड है ना तो बेसिकली हम ये सोचते हैं इनसिक्योरिटीज हैं कैसे वी आर डिस्कसिंग कि हम कैसे डिपेंड हो सकते हैं भगवान पे ना तो ये होता रहता है खुद की कर्ता की भावना आती रहती है कि मैं करूँगा तो वैसा होगा पॉसिबल और ऐसा नहीं हो सकता लाइक कि मेरे वजह से ये चीज़ ना हो ये सब चीज़ हो जाती है वी कैन अचीव समथिंग इन अ मटीरियल वे कि एज वेल एज कि भाई हम टेम्पल में आना चाहते हैं पर इसलिए नहीं आ पा रहे
I don't agree with you over this point, health challenges. All the points are okay, but health challenges are not in our hands. I think so.
Yes, हाँ, but somewhere in our hand also कि like जैसे we are lacking taking off प्रसाद हम lack करते हैं उसमें और proper हम diet का follow नहीं कर रहे ना तो somewhere in our hand also in that way वैसे हो सकता है तो चलता ही रहता है वैसे तो side से आप भी सही कह रहे हो
Because whatever the life gives us in the form of health, so it's not in our hands, right? But right now you are facing some problems with health, so that you had not invited, I think. So it has just come to you. So similarly, problems may arise anywhere, anytime, any day. So health issues are not, of course, that we should take care in our diets and in our daily routine, of course. And whatever what I have to say in the form of a list that stops me to see Krishna everywhere, I think my laziness, first of all, my laziness is the greatest impediment in the progress on the path of devotional service. Guru Maharaj always alerts us against this great impediment. Laziness, besides laziness, then I have lack of.
Yes, it's a major part of it. We are in an ignorance. We can do later on. We are later on do.
Yes,
so that's a major part of
laziness. Apart from laziness, I would say that lack of attitude, proper attitude. I think if we don't have proper attitude towards chanting, towards hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then also we cannot see Krishna easily. Because Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, these are the first three initial steps to progress on the path of devotional service and to realize Krishna easily. So lack of proper attitude, interest, I think so.
We are not in the, sometimes we can hear in the lectures, we are in the begging bhava. So we are always here like we have a already, but we can hear just for information on this. Not in the spiritual growth way. We have attitude just like we are taking the knowledge only, not for applying stage as well. On this one.
Considering always ourselves as superior to everyone else.
Yes.
This is the great.
Recording in progress.
Okay, Yagna.
Shall I close the rooms, Maharaj?
Yes, close the rooms.
Back now, Maharaj.
Okay. So everyone's back? Yeah, anybody like to share with us about what you discussed?
Yes, Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
I would like to say that in my life, my laziness is the greatest impediment in realizing Krishna everywhere, every time. Apart from laziness, lack of proper attitude towards Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam also are the obstacles on the path of devotional service. And because of these things, I am not able to realize Krishna everywhere, every time. Lazy.
You're very honest. Honest is a good quality. Honesty is a good quality. Yeah, I think it doesn't. I also feel like that myself. I also think I should be doing much more. I'm lazy. I must be lazy. It's a problem, especially as you get older. You become more lazy. I should become more active, but I become more lazy.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
But what's the solution for that? How you go? We know we have this problem. What are we supposed to do about it? How are you going to?
Maharaj, I think proper prayers to the Lord every time, asking for the mercy of not only the Lord but also of the Bhaktas, Vaishnavas, and doing the sevas. I think these are the solutions to overcome all these impediments.
Yeah, anybody can give any other solutions to laziness? What we can do to avoid laziness?
Maharaj, associate with devotees who are enthusiastic.
Yes, that's one solution. If you're fortunate, if you can get that, but it's not always possible.
Well, I think personal resolution and determination is also very important in this case. I mean, till sometime back also, I used to wake up a little late in the morning and everything, but suddenly I realized that I need to check and correct my time however I need to. So I did. I'm trying. I'm not saying I've done it, but I am at least trying because I want to correct that. So I think personal determination also matters a lot here.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, I read somewhere taking vows for our own self might help.
I'm sorry, Manaji, it's not clear.
Taking vows.
Taking vows, oh.
Maharaji, we can change our mood. Yeah, we can set as a mood if we are going in a directions.
Yeah, we want to think how to we could take a vow, but that you have to be very serious again about it. You make it just like people take vows when we give initiation. We say everybody takes vows at the time of Diksha. Doesn't mean they keep the vows, Everyone's got a vow, they take the vow, 16 vows, 4 principles. Doesn't always happen, people have difficulties. It's not so easy. You make vows and somehow we can't keep them.
Maharaji, finally we are only helpless. We can just pray to the Lord, to the Guru and Vaishnavas just to have their mercy over us. And we should not stop our efforts at least to move on the path.
Okay. Yes, Maharaji wanted to say something?
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, I was saying that I heard from my temple president that always keep the main thing always main. What is the main thing in the life is to have Krishna prema. So if our goal is fixed, then Utsaha Nishya Dhairya will automatically be there. Always keep the main thing always main. So laziness will go, all the anarthas sooner or later will go. If we keep this main thing, the goal is in our mind, then laziness will not be an obstacle.
Okay. I just wonder how I could keep that in my mind all the time. The goal is Krishna Prem. Yeah, we know that, we quote that, Prem Punarto Mahan, but to keep that in my mind and to act on that all the time, that's a challenge. So, yeah, anybody else? Okay, we'll go ahead. Certainly, there's always things stopping us from seeing Krishna. It could be, I heard one devotee would say, health problems. It could be, family problems, economic problems. So many problems. There's always problems. But somehow or other, we have to overcome them. So as Mataji just said, keep the mind on the goal, Krishna Prem. Remember the goal, we want to get that Krishna Prem. We have to get over all these obstacles. Right? Remove all, Prabhupada said, with one kick of my foot, I can get rid of all these obstacles. One devotee wrote to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I have so many obstacles. Prabhupada said, one kick of my foot, I'll move all these obstacles. So just remember that. Prabhupada's foot will remove all the obstacles. Just take shelter of Prabhupada, and he will bring us to see Krishna. Okay, we'll go ahead here. 7:14. Oh, a great verse, right? Everyone knows this one? Who would like to read?
Maharaj, shall I?
Yes.
Devi Haish Gunmai Mamaya Durutaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Etam Tarantite.
Yes, read.
This divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Yes, right. Who can know Krishna? Who can know Krishna? Those who have surrendered to Krishna. They can know Krishna. Those who have crossed over the material nature, they know Krishna. Why does he say Maya, the divine energy? Devi Esha Guna Mai. Why does he say Maya, the divine energy? Anyone?
Maya, can I try?
Yes.
Maya, which is not.
So you
Maharaj,
yeah?
Maya is defined as divine energy because it belongs to Krishna. Since Krishna is divine, that's why even the energy is also divine. And it's her duty to keep the conditioned souls within material world.
Right, yeah, material energies. That's her task, right? To keep us in here. It's the prison house. It's always difficult to get out of the prison. So we're in the prison house of the material world. Right? Read, someone?
Inferior material nature is defined herein as divine nature due to its divine connection and movement by the divine will. Being conducted by the divine will, material nature, although inferior, acts so wonderfully in the construction and destruction of the cosmic manifestation. 7.4. 14.
Right, isn't it so wonderful? The material nature, although it's inferior, it's so wonderful, right? So many things bewilder us. The latest car, the night lights. Oh, we're so easily bewildered by the material energy. Yes? What is this? Mama Maya Durat. Why is it so difficult to overcome? Because both the material and spiritual natures, emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. We may think, oh, it's material. Yes, it's material, but it's eternal. Sometimes it's manifest, sometimes it's not, but it's eternal. Eternally conditioned souls, Nitya Bada. Someone read?
Both the material and spiritual natures, being emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are eternal. The living entities belong to the eternal superior nature of the Lord. But due to the contamination by the inferior nature, matter, their illusion is also eternal. The conditioned soul is therefore called Nitya Baddha, or eternally conditioned. No one can trace out the history of his becoming conditioned at a certain date in material history. Bhagavad Gita 7.4 perfect.
So, we're eternally conditioned. Does it mean we have to stay eternally conditioned? Mataji? Yes, Mataji? We're eternally conditioned. Does it mean we're going to stay eternally conditioned?
No, Maharaj. By the blessing.
Yes, by whose blessings?
By the blessing of senior Vaishnavas, Guru and Krishna.
How do we get free of this conditioning? How do we become Nitya Mukta?
Just by engaging in this in the pure devotional service, by following the footsteps of previous acharyas and under the directions of Guru.
So by sadhana bhakti.
Maharaj, yes, by Vedi sadhana bhakti, like when we follow the rules and regulations, then we can go to the level of raganuga bhakti, like by spontaneous attraction towards Lord.
Yes. Okay, we're not going to talk about Raganuga Bhakti yet. Don't bring that in. But we want to come from Nitya Bhara to Nitya Mukta. How can we do it?
By following the rules and regulations.
Yes, the different processes. That is called sadhana, right? Sadhana siddha. By sadhana siddha we can become Nitya Mukta. any other way.
Maharaj, Kripa said?
By, yes, mercy.
By what? Mercy, right. Kripa Siddha, yes, by Kripa Siddha. Is it very common to get mercy?
No, Maharaj.
No, Maharaj.
Yeah, Prabhupada said like honorary degree. Honorary degree, you know, Rabindranath Tagore, he got an honorary degree from Oxford University. They called him, come, we're going to give you a degree. He didn't go there, he didn't study, he didn't get admitted, he didn't take any exams, but he wrote his books and they appreciated it and they gave him honorary degree. So it's not very common, it's very rare. I didn't get honorary degree. None of you got I don't think, got honorary degrees. You know, we may have studied at university, but we didn't get the honorary degree. And so that's Kripa Siddha. Prabhupada says like that. Like, he said, one devotee asked Prabhupada, what does it mean, Kripa Siddha? He said, just like somebody comes and they put $1 million in your hand. You never saw them before. They just walk up to you and say, here, take it. He said, that is Kripa Siddha. Is it very common? No, very, very, very rare, right? And so, to get Kripa Siddha, we need to do, therefore, sadhana siddha. By sadhana only we can become perfect. But we also pray for the mercy. We do pray for the mercy of the Vaishnavas, that they will be merciful on us. So Nityapada doesn't mean we have to remain Nityapada. We can become liberated soul. In the scriptures it is stated, the liberated soul, Iha yashya haryadashye karmana manasagira nikilaspapiya vastastu jivan mukta sauchate. One who uses the body, mind and words in the service of Krishna, then he is a liberated soul in this life. Right? In this very life you can become Nitya Mukta. Jivan Mukta sa uchate. You just simply use their body, mind and words in the service of Krishna. Alright, question. What is the illusory curtain that separates us from Krishna? Who knows? Yeah? What is the curtain separating us from Krishna?
The time this body.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Basically.
One word. Maya. Right? How to overcome it? How to overcome this Maya?
Take the shelter of Guru and Gauranga.
Yeah, surrender to Krishna. Right. Surrender to Krishna. Mam eva ye prapajante mayamitam tarantite. Right? Read.
वो माया मेवत प्रपदन्ते मामेवे प्रपदन्ते माया मेताम तरन्ते. Devotional service or Krishna consciousness can help one gain such release. Krishna, being the Lord of the illusory energy, can order this insurmountable energy to release the conditioned soul. He orders this release out of his causeless mercy on the surrendered soul and out of his eternal affection for the living entity who is originally a beloved son of the Lord. Therefore, surrender onto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the clutches of the stringent material nature. Bhagavad Gita 7.14 purport.
Yes, right. Surrender to Krishna. Mam eva ye prapajyante mayam etam tarantite. Share with a friend a personal experience of surrendering and how Krishna reciprocated. So you can see in the picture, Prabhupada's on the Jaladuta, he's praying to Krishna. Right? How did Krishna reciprocate there with Prabhupada? You remember? You heard the story?
Maharaj, like the ship, the ocean was very smooth. Like the captain also told that he has never seen the ocean so calm.
Yes, right. Yeah. And Prabhupada was having heart attack. And what happened? He saw Krishna.
Appeared in the heart.
He saw Krishna rowing the boat. Prabhupada was in the boat. Krishna was rowing the boat, helping him cross the ocean. So when we're in, sometimes we're in great stressing situations, and if we just surrender, then Krishna will reciprocate. Certainly it happens. Krishna is a person, and he does care about his devotees. And if we're really trying to surrender, then Krishna will help us. Freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnur eva nasamshaya. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. 7.14 purport. Okay, just to cover what we talked today. Significance of Maya Sattamana in relation to Krishna's instruction on the practice of yoga. Significant. We have to fix our mind on Krishna. Very important. In the practice of yoga, we must fix the mind on Krishna. That is the real business of devotee. And then the significance, Yatatamapi Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Veti Tadvata, in relation to Krishna's instructions on the yoga system outlined in previous chapters. We explained it. Hare Krishna. We explained how it's very difficult to know Krishna. Very rare. Most people come to the level of Brahman. So Krishna's instructions are there to guide us to come to Krishna consciousness, to know Him in full. So out of thousands among men, only one is endeavoring for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So it's rare that even people try for perfection. And it's even more rare that they know Krishna. And we have also spoken about why a conditioned soul is called Nityabada. Why is he called Nityabada? Because he's been in the material world so long that we can't remember. So it's like eternal. Therefore we say Nityabada, because it's so long we can't remember when he came in. End quote. Actually, the perfection of life depends on one's inclination to hear about Krishna. Unless one becomes interested in Krishna, in his pastimes and activities, there's no question of liberation by means of yoga practice or speculative knowledge. So hearing about Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions?
Yeah, Maharaj, I have a question.
Anybody has any questions?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes, Prabhu.
Maharaj, just regarding the Nitya Bhata thing, I wanted to know that, like, we all are Nitya Bhata. So, does it mean that as and when we came into existence, from that time we are Nitya Bhatas, or there is a possibility that we were we were in the spiritual world, and after that, sometime we become Nitya Bhata?
Generally, that's what we present. That's our Krishna conscious teaching, Srila Prabhupada seems to indicate that originally we were all Krishna conscious. So whether or not we were actually in the spiritual world, that is another thing, because we do understand that, you know, once you go to the spiritual world, you don't come back. So it's not an easy thing to understand. I wouldn't like to commit myself on this. I'm not going to tell you one way or the other. There's some people advocate that we never leave the spiritual world, and other people say that no, once we were, initially we were with Krishna, but somehow we fell into the material world. And so there's different opinions about this. I won't tell you what's right and what's wrong. There are, even within our movement, within our own society, different devotees, they have different opinions.
So you mean, if we go by Prabhupada's opinion, what Prabhupada says, it means we should accept that we were there in the spiritual world and then we came in.
Yes.
Going by Prabhupada.
It seems to be that Prabhupada said like that, yes.
True, Maharaj. Okay, regarding going back to Godhead, somehow I've heard in Islam only that some people saying that when Krishna says you will never return, that means until the point you remain surrendered to Krishna, you will never return. But if you again don't surrender to Krishna, or you disobey Krishna, then you might again have to come. So, could you elaborate on this?
Yes, we're marginal potency. We have that independence, that any time we can fall back.
So you mean after we go back to Godhead, and if we again misuse marginal potency, there is still the possibility we can again come back, is it?
Well, it's possible, but it's not very likely. But, you know, it is possible because we are the marginal potency. Our nature is such that we're tatastha shakti. So we can, at any time, we want to leave the spiritual world. Krishna's not going to keep us. You want to go back to the material world, go ahead. That choice is always there. You don't want to stay in the spiritual world, you want to go back into Maya, go ahead. Go and enjoy. Yeah, that independence is given. But usually people who are pure devotees, they go back to Godhead, they're not going to want to come back here. It's not, you know, it's just not going to happen. You go back to Godhead, you want to stay there. Yeah?
So I mean, regarding this thing, like Prabhupada says, 90% are good souls and 10% are bad souls. So I mean, those 10% fall down and those 90% never fall down.
Yes, right.
So I mean, Krishna created.
Huh?
Yeah. Sorry for cutting you.
No? What did you want to say?
I want to say that, I mean, did Krishna create in such a manner that 90% will be good and 10% will be bad? Or, I mean, it just happened. What's the thing?
No, just like in the material world, we see there's prisons, you know, and not everyone's in the prison house, you know. A small percentage of people are in the prison. So everyone has their nature. Some people are law-abiding and other people are rebellious. So everyone has they have that nature, they have that free will. You could say, as Krishna arranged it, no, Krishna has given everyone independence, but the nature of the living entities is such that a small portion of the living entities are rebellious. Most of the souls are obedient.
So those 90% will never be, coming out of all those 90%, they will never come into that 10% level. They will always remain obedient.
Well, yes, that's right. They could if they wanted, but they don't desire. They're so fully satisfied in the service of Krishna. They have no desire to leave the service of Krishna.
But then, if you go by this way, that we were also at one time in the spiritual world, so it appears that one time we were also in the category of 90%, and then we got shifted into the category of 10% to fall down.
Well, this is a difficult thing to understand. So generally, the acharyas say, don't try to understand how we got here. Try to understand the easiest thing, which is how to go back.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. All right, we'll stop here tonight. Then we'll be back tomorrow night. I hope you can keep up with us here. See you tomorrow night. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Thank you, Maharaj. But before